There are different types of violence or domestic abuse or domestic violence. In your cases you've gone through or the cases you've dealt with, what are the different types of abuse or domestic violence out there?
So the different types are emotional, there's financial, there's psychological.
Financial
abuse,
okay.
There's psychological, there is, I guess off the top of my head, those are some of the main ones that I know about.
Okay, now, for all of you have mentioned financial, emotional, psychological. You didn't mention physical. That means that could be the list of the cases you deal with. You don't have to be physical to be violent.
And I think that's something that, it's important to touch upon with men, especially because, most men may not go through physical abuse, domestic abuse. That might come from a different area. That might be more emotional, psychological, it might be more financial. Don't get me wrong, there is physical abuse, there is physical abuse as well. But perhaps maybe, in terms of my experience, actually it may not, it's not. Obviously, there are, what we sort of call, common mental health problems in my line of work, like depression. It could lead to anxiety. It could lead to even paranoia as well. It could lead to maybe something we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, where people sometimes have flashbacks or nightmares of abuse that they've suffered in the past. So escaping, finally becoming free from it, the aftermath is, maybe some sort of post-traumatic stress or trauma from it, or, and I think one of the main ones that I've sort of, looked at or worked with is lack of trust. When someone is abused, and they've broken free from that, at the end of it, they don't trust another person. They will struggle to get into another relationship, struggle to figure out who's real in their lives or not, so they're often stripped away from, that trust.
Going back to my question, the signs of this abuse, how do you realize or notice when these things are beginning to come up?
I think, one of the major signs is within the individual's personality and character. If you, I think if you're someone that, you have a friend and you're not too sure if they're experiencing or he's experiencing, some domestic abuse at home, it could be as easy as watching how he is around his partner, seeing if he's a bit anxious or nervous, if he's reporting back all the time. I know, people have to, married couples, have to report.
Yeah, you have to be accountable to each other.
But it's the frequency of the reporting.
And then the air around the reporting. When the person is reporting, how do they report and all of those things?
You don't know the intention behind the love that the person is trying to show you.
Okay.
So, without knowing the intention behind that, it's really difficult for someone that's been abused to know that, that's what's going on sometimes, It can be, I was having a conversation outside of, this chat that we're having, and someone talked a little bit about, okay, if a wife, for example, is restricting food from her husband, doing it out of love, of course, but then it might get to the point where although she might have good intentions doing it out of love, perhaps, but then again, she's restricting food. She's not feeding it. She's not saying, you can have this instead. It's healthier for you, you know, it's just restricting food. Yeah?
Okay.
So it's just important to understand that fine line between, okay, she loves me, she's my wife, she wants to take care of me, you know, if she really restricting me from eating food in terms of starvation, is she trying to give me healthy options, you know?
As a man, because sometimes it's difficult to, particularly when it comes to emotional abuse, it's difficult to draw the line between love and abuse. So how do I know as a man that this is no longer that I love my wife, but that she's actually crossing her bounds? How do I find out? How do I come to that realization as a man?
I think that is a very, very difficult question to answer. But because I think when people are in domestic abusive relationships, or men are in, you know, relationships, sometimes affection can be the sort of barrier or mask.
Yeah, mask.
Yeah. So it might come across as the partner might say, "Oh yes, I'm being affectionate to you by doing this and that," but actually it's abuse. But how the husband or man is interpreting it as is affection. Okay. So your question around, okay, you know, around, you know, that sense of love.
Affection.
Affection. You know, it's really difficult for someone to sort of identify, is this really affection or is this abuse? Because, you know, what the woman is saying, or, you know, a partner is saying to the man, is that this is affection. This is how I show my love, and this is how I've always shown it.
Examples of abuse I don't know, I know you're professional with, you know, like disclosure and all of that, but are there examples that you can give us of, you know, instances of what could be an abuse in a relationship?
Yeah,
that stuff I know.
Yeah, I mean, the typical ones in terms of like physical violence, you know, physical abuse, punching, kicking, you know, hitting, slapping. You know, there's that one. There is, you know, threatening to kill yourself as well is part of psychological abuse.
Okay, I'm threatening to kill myself.
I'll kill myself. Yes.
Okay.
Because you have to think a little bit about this. You know,
the hold your hands on the other person when I say that.
Exactly. You know, abuse is a power thing. You know, the person who's abusing needs power often. So they will always, you know, I'll kill myself. You won't have access to your kids if you decide to leave. You know, it's not, you know, I know, you know, people go through difficulties with marriages and, you know, things like that.
Frictions,
frictions and things like that, you know. So when I say, you know, you wouldn't have, you know, access to your kids, you know, you know, I really mean it as in they're in the house together, they're living together. The person is threatening, you know, the husband and telling him that you will not have access to your kids if you do not do this thing. If you decide to walk out, you'll never see your kids again.
Why do men not leave? Why do people stay back to take all of this when you know you're being abused?
I think that's a very, very good question. And, you know, I want to talk, before I go into that, just a little bit about, you know, just some of the signs of being abused, you know, because I think, you know, when you're in it, it can be difficult to understand, you know, that is going on. You know, you can be so focused on the relationship, you can be so focused on, you know, thinking that you're in love, you know, or thinking that, you know, this is what you deserve, maybe, you know, that you're unable to recognize the signs. Okay. And I think one of the major signs is, as I said before, feeling a sense of threat, you know, if it's persistent, you know, you think that, okay, this person is doing something it's been going on for so long now. How long have I been, you know, treated like this? How long have I felt like this for, as well? Understanding and seeing, okay, is the person coming across as very controlling? You know, you know, I gave the example earlier of holding back finances.
Yeah.
You know, which some, you know, couples or, you know, family members do that, you know, to manage their money.
Exactly, because when one is stronger with finances than the other, of course, you give the other person.
Yeah.
Having said all of that, now, how do we find help? How can a man find help once you realize you've been abused?
Yeah, I think, you know, the stages to getting help can be really difficult, you know, for a man, and I think, you know, the first thing I would say is actually maybe just booking a GP appointment. You know, that is a way into talking about your needs or talking about you. You know, your GP is there for you know, physical problems, but is there for emotional and psychological difficulties as well.
Okay, that's new to me.
You know? Yeah, most of, you know, within the line of work that I do, most of referrals come from GPs.
From the GPs.
Yeah, so GPs are not just there for, you know, physical health problems. They're there for psychological health problems.
For the sake of people that are not watching from the UK, who is a GP? Who is
general practitioner? So your doctor.
Your doctor. Okay. Yeah.
Your doctor.
Thank you. Okay.
So I guess, you know, me saying go to your GP, it's a safe way to do it as well.
Okay.
You know, it's a safe, because you can just book an appointment for, like, you know, a cold or, you know, something, and then, you know, try if you have a good relationship with your GP, or, you know, try and open up a little bit just to talk about what you've been experiencing at home, and the GP, you know, would make maybe a bit of a risk assessment to check if you're in any danger at all. We'll ask you some key questions.